Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Rode, and I'm the host of the Tailormade Fitness Industry Podcast. Right now, I'm sitting in the bus, as you can see, and I'm producing the third episode of a series with three international experts. Today, it's Mr. Bryan Rourke, and he's famous for his entrepreneurship and well known for trends and consumer and the digital part in the fitness. So we will talk about the chances that the digital market offers everybody right now, the gyms, the instructors, and the members. Yeah, and then later on we will talk for sure about the situation in the US. I prepared some questions about his personal situation. Yeah, he's very experienced, but a COVID situation is new for everybody. So we will talk a little bit the background, his feelings and his emotions, and how he spent time in the last weeks or month. Hopefully you really enjoyed the next 60 minutes, and then if you like, please follow this podcast and share it with maybe other interested people in this content. Drop me a line in the comments and I will come back to you very, very soon. So please enjoy the next episode and podcast, and talk to you. Bye bye. Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome from Germany, from Hamburg. Today, I'm honored to talk a guy who is an absolutely icon in the fitness industry, an expert all over the world globally. I met him the first time at the retention convention, and he was the first one who joined the convention, and I was the second one. So we had time to talk to each other about the fitness industry. And since that time, I had the chance to ask him a few questions about his techniques when he's doing presentations. It's so emotional and powerful, and I've learned a lot. And we just had a few contacts, but he was always supportive. A guy in his role is absolutely amazing, but he's a real uplifter, pusher, supporter, and he's much more, because he's the founder of the Vettery Ventures. He's a strategist and investor, board member. He's supporting the ERSA, the industry on the other side of the ocean, and he helped I don't know how many companies to grow and to be successful. He's a specialist for technology, consumer, and especially for digital trends. And I think this will be a huge part. But right now, I want to hand over to Mr. Bryan Rourke, straight from the US. And I'm very happy, proud, and honored to have him here on this My Little Podcast show. Hello, Bryan.
Hey, Mark. Thank you for that nice introduction. It's good to see you. You know, I told you before, Guten Morgen. My family, part of my family is German. So so I have roots in Germany, and so I'm very honored to see you again and talk with you.
Yeah. Again, thanks for your time, and the idea of doing international podcasts, because I'm not a native speaker, and I was thinking about should I try it in English? But the situation, the COVID situation globally, the decision for me, because I want to know what happened on the other continents, what are they doing, and then later on, when we figured out what's happening in the US right now, maybe we can talk a little bit more globally. And at the end, I hope you have a lot of very valuable tips, maybe for the Germans, maybe for the people, the humans all over. And so first of all, I would start with a sum up of the status right now in your country, from your point of view.
Sure. So a number of states have opened up and are allowing health club operations to begin. Georgia was one of the first, and they started, I think now they're in their third week of operation. And so Texas is open recently, very well. So there's a number of states that are opening. California has not, several others have not allowed in their phase one health clubs to open at this point. What we've seen in the initial results have been fairly encouraging. In Georgia, for example, membership sales, were higher than anticipated. The ratio of people that are allowed to be in facilities is not been problematic. Of course, those operators are going above and beyond to create a sense of cleanliness. They've done a few things with cutting back on group fitness and also on, for example, childcare, which they have not introduced at this time as part of phase one. So, but the general consensus in speaking with the operators that I've spoken with at length is positive so far. You know, the question is this going to be a V-shaped recovery or a W shape in case there's certain remote, relapses in surges, which you saw a little bit in China, where they initially allowed some clubs to open and then they had a bit of a spike, so they shut them down, but then they've reopened them again. So it's been fairly positive. You know, it's early days, and I think we have some room to go. And I know in Europe, operations are starting in the Nordics. I know that some of those areas were never really closed per se in Sweden because of their public policies. I know that in speaking with the podcast recently, there are other operators in Europe as well that are reopening. So I'm sure it'll be very interesting to see what happens with those operations.
Mm-hmm. And so one of your main operating things is consumer, the point of view from the consumer side. You spoke about the reopening of the gyms, and now I think everybody saw the pictures from the gyms. You have squares, you have arrows, you have time to wait, you have masks. When we switch over to the emotional part, what do you think? What will happen in the future with a group, with a community, when we have to join the gyms in the future like this?
Yeah, it's a big question. So there is still going to be some consumer concern. I think that the hardcore users will return first. And then I think there'll be a number of members that kind of sit on the fence and wait to see what happens. That's the initial feedback, and that's what we see with some of the survey data I've reviewed, at least in the States. Now, what this situation represents is really a small portion of the bigger picture. So what I mean by that, Mark, is things like remote work from home, was a trend that was already there. It's something I spoke about around the world last year as being a significant megatrend, and really about convenience for the customer, so and the member, because to the extent that people's lifestyles do not require them to commute, to the extent that they can work out at home and in clubs, I think that those trends were already set. And all that this is going to do is further accelerate those trends. And I don't believe it's going to be ultimately at the expense or to harm the fitness industry from a bricks and mortar delivery standpoint. I think it will grow the overall industry. And in the interim between now and maybe 6 months, a year and a half, I don't know what the time frame will be, where we have to cope with the potential for the viral infections that might rear their heads again. In the long run, there will be some facilities that will suffer. Some brands will suffer because if they see even a 15 or 10% decline in business, it might threaten their ability to continue to operate. I think there'll be some clubs that are going to suffer through this, but a lot of those clubs probably were marginal in the first place. And I think those members will find other homes. And I think once the pandemic subsides and the solutions through therapies or other vaccines or other things are understood and in place, that the industry will resume its growth trajectory. But the expectation around convenience, especially through digital, will continue to garner more and more attention from users. So I think this is just a small kind of it's not small, but it's an effect that is just going to accelerate with what was already underway.
If you were a gym owner, What would be your speed with implementing new memberships, with implementing new technologies? Would you be the early adapter, or would you be I don't know? Let's wait and see. Yeah. So what would be your position right now? Just Bryan or Rourke? If you have a gym right now, what would you do?
That's a big question. It varies depending on the operator's kind of situation. So to the extent that you don't have access to a lot of capital, there's a high degree of uncertainty, and to the extent you're, where you have your facility located is not opening up as fast, or to the extent you have a lot more competition, you want to be very mindful about not reacting too quickly and reserving resources in the near term so that you can survive through this. If you're a very well capitalized business and you have good resources, I think it is an opportunity for you to potentially gain better employees and trainers, capture greater market share, because of your capability in the near term. Now, for the bigger question on strat, so that's the first thing. I think to be mindful given your unique circumstances. The second thing is so that's more near term. The second thing is communicate. Obviously, you want to be communicating with your communities. You want to be communicating with your members, your employees in a very disciplined way that is thoughtful, keeping them informed, frequently ask questions, communicate with your staff, because there are going to be questions that are going to be asked that people aren't used to answering. So communication is going to be very key for any operator in the interim. And thankfully, without spending a lot of money, there are a lot of channels to accomplish that with today. So I think those two things are big. And then the third thing is really, to your point on technology, is really being strategic. It will be tempting for people to jump into streaming, and many of them have, which is great. But streaming by itself is not really the long-term answer. There's a whole component of things that clubs need to continue to think about when it comes to transforming their businesses digitally. And there are only a handful of brands that have done that to any meaningful extent to date. So I think that this will be a big opportunity, one that's going to take thought, one that thankfully there are great resources out there from organizations like URSA, Europe Active, regional organizations, and other professionals who can help guide people in putting together a near-term and long-term plan on how they need to rethink how they deliver service through their business models. And that's going to take some thought. I mean, it's great that people are streaming content and offering apps and doing that. And I think that's good. But I think there's going to be another level of requirement that is not going to be necessarily that clear without a lot of thought.
Mm-hmm. When you think about the group exercise, you as you started, you said group exercise started again, and this is the main. It's a bonding factor for the members.
Yep.
This part, bonding the people to the club. What was your solution when you have to deal or implement the digital package and the group X stuff? Do you think Peloton, a kind of Peloton or Echelon or whatever, that will be the solution for the future, or do you see another kind of, the guy for visions? Let's talk about visions.
So I think that you're already seeing this with Equinox releasing their cycle. I think that certain brands will offer their own branded content and interactive experiences via digital that support their in-club experience. I think that the best or world-class providers will be doing that. They will provide you the in-club experience that you enjoy with that camaraderie, and also the out-of-club experience you enjoy with that camaraderie. And there are many platforms that are emerging that can do that very well. although it's not widely adopted. What Techno has done with their home product with certain partnerships that they've entered into. You're aware of that. You're aware of perhaps our company Montezumo and what it's doing with its group solutions. That you can see what MyZone has done. Here's my MyZone with their kind of interactive solutions, so that you're part of a group, but you don't have to always physically be there with the group. But you can interact with people that are part of your network and actually experience, great camaraderie and community without physical presence. So I think those things will go hand in glove. In the interim, obviously, there's going to be some limitations in our clubs in Thailand with Fitness 24/7 in Bangkok. We're planning on, since group is a big part of that experience, we're planning on cutting back classes by about 50%, just having a little fewer attendees per class to give people a little more distance between themselves during those classes. But I think there's no doubt that once all this subsides, as we have mentioned, and people figure out how we're going to cope with it in a healthy way and a secure way, that group is going to come back as strong as it ever has. And I think that the digital alternatives will just serve to complement the people that use it. Morgan Stanley released a very well done research piece based on surveys, and it found that across the board, only about 7 or 8% of people that use digital solutions for fitness found them as a replacement for their club experience. So the vast majority, 90% of people that use digital solutions actually use club experiences. So it's similar to music. The people that consume more digital music than anyone else tend to go to live concerts more than anyone else. So, I just see those things expanding the experience and reaching new users. When you realize in the world last year, about 1.2 billion people utilize digital fitness apps or streaming services, and that doesn't even include smartwatch technology. So, that's a huge market. And if we get more and more of those people on board on digital and get them into clubs, that's going to help our industry overall. And I think that's the opportunity.
Yeah, at the end, maybe you agree. We have 7.7 billion people here globally. 1.5 are physical active and 3.3 are gamers.
Yep.
Yeah. And you know that I'm working with live fitness since years, and we have a digital platform and different offers, but they increase the speed to developing this stuff right now. I think everybody did that, every company. And this is I think it's luck, it's pain and luck at the same time for the companies, because there will be some mistakes in the digital coding, but at the end, everybody gets an idea about what's possible in the future when you think it digital and sport. At the end, the gamers, if they want to go professional, they have to be physical active. Otherwise, they won't hit the targets on the screen. So that could be gamification will be a huge factor in the future, I think. And
yes.
We need. Is it right?
Yes, gamification. Content streaming, interactive content streaming, all those things, will become an increasing part of the landscape. And as I said before, it's just being accelerated. I spoke with an executive with CureFit out of India yesterday, and they have a platform. They have 300 facilities in India, and they have a very well-developed platform. And they went from with gamification included, et cetera. They went from about 4,000 or 5,000 users a day to 500,000 users a day in the last month. So, yes, that's all going to be part of it, and more people are going to experience it because it's convenient and it's what they do now. So,
very interesting. Do you see one all-over platform like Netflix in the future, who's offering like all the TV stuff? Netflix will, I think, open a fitness platform in the future, or have they done that in the US? In Germany, there is no fitness, but maybe you can tell us more.
Well, those platforms, I think you're going to see lots of things, as the streaming wars, as they call it, because it's not just Netflix now. It's Disney. It's a lot of different HBO. It's a lot of different platforms, Hulu, and there's YouTube, and then there's OTT, and YouTube's becoming a Netflix competitor with their subscription models, and just general, as I said, OTT, over the top transmission, where you can very easily stream content. But then the more robust aspects of content, which are more interactive content exchanges, which will become, instead of one way to you, it's both ways, or to groups. But I think with Netflix in particular, I think what you're going to see, and we've already seen it some, but I don't think quite to the extent it's going to be. We see a little bit of it. So I don't know if you recall, as a German or any European, in the United States in the last 20 some years, TV Food Network, or the idea of producing content around lifestyle having to do with food or travel. I think you're going to see more content involving well-being, fitness. You're seeing it now, but I think you're going to see even more of that content in a variety of entertaining ways, either through personalities like you have with the TV Food Network, or other documentaries or other content that is entertaining and promoting the lifestyle of healthy living. I think that entertainment is going to be a real boom. And I think you'll see that content emerge in that way. And I think that the production cost of content continues to go down. So more and more people will have the opportunity to participate in creating meaningful experiences for people in wellness, health, fitness, of course, nutrition. So, I think anyone that it wants to produce content now has a place to distribute it. So, given its cost, I think you're going to see a lot of that.
What will be the place, Bryan? What will be the place? Where do I have to offer my content right now? Because for sure, I start to produce in English. Yeah, maybe I will produce my handouts in English. This is a smart idea, because I enlarge my target group from 1 second to the other, from 80 million or 120 million to what 7 point whatever billion. Yeah, but what do you think? For if you're a gym, maybe you have the app solution from whatever the big players. Yeah, and maybe you will use that. But let's maybe talk about a little bit the market of the PTs, and the selfish instructors. All these target group, they try to offer things. A lot of these offered it for free.
Yes.
I started on the next day when I heard about the shutdown. I started the next day, but I charged it with $100 because I do not have to give something for free, because it's my education and my time. And I don't care if I'm physically in front of a customer or I'm in front of a video. I have to charge for my time. And yeah, what's should I offer it on my own webpage?
Yeah, so this is an OTT app. This is one example. This is our Vertimax app. So, with this, it's programming. We have freemium product, freemium content, and we have premium content. That's one example. That's an OTT platform that you can have subscribers to. It's relatively inexpensive to launch. You just have to create the content. You also have, YouTube, which, as well as IGTV or Instagram in general. You have many pay platforms that you can monetize YouTube now. So I think, many people now in brands that are trainers are doing this. And there are many other platforms, many platforms that can support this. There are some players in the industry that enable this, things like Trainerize or Virtua Gym or others, or platforms like Wexer, many different platforms which provide the opportunity to distribute content in different ways. I think the first thing is, creating the great content and building an audience. And once you build that and gain trust, then monetizing it is very real. And Morgan Stanley's research on digital, which I referred to earlier, shows a huge number of people generating millions of views around content that's fitness related. So Uh, Monetizing that can be done in a number of different ways, and it is a real business model. Because if you had 500 people, like Kevin Kelly says, if you have 1,000 raving fans, you can sustain yourself professionally with those 1,000 fans. And there's lots of ways to do that now, including becoming an ambassador on Amazon, for example, where you have a number of products that you promote that are related to your training. You can make 7 to 9% commission on those sales. There's many ways to monetize once you have an adequate following. And I think that there are many trainers that are doing that, and I think that's going to be a thing that's going to continue to be a trend you're going to see.
Nice point, because everybody's talking about how to get the members back to the club.
Right.
And I was in a car driving to a customer, and I was thinking about how to get the stager and the very expert instructors back to the club. Because when they know now how to earn their own money, yeah, maybe they don't want to teach a class for $30, yeah, when they have 500 viewers in 1 hour and everybody is paying for $10. He will never come back to the club. That could be a problem in the future. Yeah.
Yes. It's why Equinox went out and created their own talent agency to monetize key instructors, which they entered that business about 1.5 years ago, I believe. So, I think there will be new business models. I know McFit in Europe does this with certain celebrities with their platforms, Cyberobics. I think that you will see brands consider in their own content creation how to feature key trainers and influencers to make their brands relevant. And I think you will see, because of the ability to produce content, many of those trainers do their own things because they can. If they're very good and they have the energy to do it, I think that's a very real thing that many people have done. So, I think that's a dynamic, right? It's going to be there, as well as the studio trends of the last 5 to 10 years, where a lot of independent studios were forged by professionals who wanted to go out on their own. So, look, as long as there's a way to monetize at the right price points your expertise, entertainment, and motivation, there's going to be a marketplace and a business model for people to pursue.
Did I understood it right? You invested 1.5 years ago in an agency who is,
No, that's Equinox. We weren't investing in that, but Equinox started that. I forget the name. Yeah, so they actually started a company that its sole role is to attract and monetize and retain training talent for their brands and for other purposes, I believe. So they're doing that, and by doing that, they're recognizing, I think, what you're bringing up, where you have to have another reason to create value for certain of those trainers to actually stay with you, because they have options. So their options are doing it on their own, and I think that's a real option.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that it's a chance for the instructors to earn a little bit more money? And at the same time, is there a chance right now to catch the talented trainers because they do not have jobs anymore, and to invite them or book them for a longer period for the gym? Is there a chance right now?
Oh yeah, I think we mentioned before that certain operators are not. So, for example, in the U.S., a number of chains have reopened. Some have not yet, because for some of those clubs, they're larger organizations, or they're having to bring their employees back. And for some of those clubs, it's a challenge, right? So with those clubs, certain competitors that are operating can poach that talent if they choose to, now if they know who they are. So I think that's a real advantage. At the same time, really smart and talented trainers are still capable of saying, I may teach a little bit, but now I'm going to work on my own business. And that's going to be, using these technologies to create content that is people like and find valuable. And why not? I can do that. If I can get 500 subscribers at $50 a month, then I have a business I can run. So I think all those things are all happening at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. When I was, let's switch from the PTs now to the gym models, which are the winner right now. What do you think? Who could be a winner? What concept of a gym? So I'm thinking, I have a picture in my mind. Maybe you're thinking the same way. So yeah.
Well, what do you think, Mark?
So for me, that will be the CrossFit boxes, because they do not have to carry all the selectorized machines. They do not have to throw out the cardio parts. They are able to restructure the floor in any way. They can invite teachers to teach different kind of whatever, yoga, weightlifting, kettlebell, rope skipping. It's everything is possible. They do not have to clean a very big amount of stuff. So and it won't be the CrossFit boxes, but there won't be the spaces which are very easily to change and rearrange fast and without any big amount of energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. I think that's a very interesting observation. And that since they don't have a lot of overhead, right? They can be much more flexible, and they're probably going to be able to survive longer. So I think that's probably fair. I think some of the challenges I think are going to happen with some of the larger club chains that are in the middle market. And you've seen it in the US right now with 24-hour fitness that is contemplating publicly filing for a reorganization. TSI doing the same, Gold's Gym announcing that they've filed for reorganization. So some of these clubs, because of where they are in the marketplace, they're mid-tier, larger boxes. Now the franchisees for Goals, I think, are going to be fine because those are entrepreneurs that run their operations very hands-on. I think when you start operating, 50, 60, 100, 200, 400 clubs, you start having all kind of challenges with getting employees back, with like you point out with the CrossFit boxes. How do you execute on that? There are a lot of challenges there. So I think those mid-market chains that are at scale are going to have some big challenges. I think the boutiques in the interim might have a little bit of a challenge, depending on the economic headwinds that come as a result of this, and the social distancing aspects of, not being able to, for example, have a cycle bar packed to the gills with people and still comply with local ordinances regarding social distancing. So the models may not be able to have as many class participants. So that may cause some near-term pain for some of those. But that's what I would think are the two that I would keep an eye on to see the challenges they face. But if they fight through the interim issues at hand in the coming months and they survive, I think there's an opportunity for all those brands to recapture larger market share because of the ones that won't necessarily make it through the challenging time.
I saw some pictures from a gym in the US, and they carried the machines out on the outside in the backyard. That if you do not have a lot of rain, and a flat ground underground, so it's possible. But in Germany, it's a little bit too less space to carry all that stuff, cardio park out of the big box gym. But it was a nice solution. It was smart. Okay, we do not need. It was plate loaded machine, so they couldn't. Maybe they get rusty a little bit, but they can work it out, and they can put the double amount of people in. That was a very smart idea. That makes me laugh.
Well, it's to your point about the CrossFit gyms too, because many of those have the garage doors that open and they'll train outside. And so when it comes to having more air where you're not going to, it's better. I think people are going to be more comfortable training outdoors or training in an area where you have a lot more air and the circulation of air. You're not confined. So I think, more to your point, people will probably find that more appealing.
Yeah. So now we have a global discussion about does it make sense to do sports and weightlifting and stuff or not? The WHO released in March a science which told us, please do 2 times for 150 minutes a week, do strength training. What do you think? Does this paper have any power to the fitness and health industry and sector, or maybe will it just be like, okay, thank you for this, but we won't change anything?
So URSA, which I sit on the board of, has been very active in conversations with WHO for a number of years now. More recently, in particular, our board member Monica is very involved with them from Brazil, and who's a wonderful lady, as well as Killian and others. So there's been very concerted effort to engage with the WHO on these kind of things by industry representation. So I think that, the question isn't obviously one or the other. Obviously, it's great for the WHO to recognize these things, but it won't be just one paper that makes a difference. It's going to be consistent interfacing and education of policy people in governments to integrate physical activity, including strength training and others, into the conversation about public health. And so, I'm hoping, and I know with the URSA organization and with other organizations around the world in collaboration, like the American Council on Exercise, NASM, others, and other European-based organizations and Asian organizations, et cetera, that dialogue needs to just continue. We need to continue to have people talk about exercise as a solution for the inactivity crisis around the world and the benefit that will have on public health.
Is there? I have to make some notes for the next question when I'm listening to some of your very interesting point of views. Will there be? Oh, that was Alexa. Sorry. Will there be a chance right now to rise the level of education to push a deeper connection from health and the fitness sector? So is it maybe you're talking to all these experts from the health insurance system, I think. Is it a problem they do not accept that strength training and fitness training will increase your level of healthiness? I think there is kind of a border, or no, we won't that. What do you think? If we would increase the level of education of the instructors, would that helpful to give the health insurances or the health system a push?
It's a complicated question for a lot of reasons. First off, as you know, healthcare systems vary around the world with respect to how their services are paid for. How governments finance certain things varies quite a bit. It's very different in Germany as it is in the United States or as it is in Japan. Additionally, there are cultural, variations. There are a lot of different dynamics at play here. And underlying is the dynamic, as everyone knows, if strength training and cardio exercise and good nutrition were in a pill, everyone would be taking it. So, I think you face a lot of challenges when it comes to adoption because, again, a lot of differences around the world and how healthcare is paid for. A lot of cultural things, and a lot of people don't want to work that hard. They want to sit on the couch. So, I think from a policy perspective, you have a lot of people working around the world trying to figure this out. Even in the WHO, as you mentioned before, or the World Economic Forum, even in their roadmap, health and well-being is part of that roadmap. And the question is, how how do we affect that? And it requires a lot of people, a lot of different constituencies to work together. And when you look at things like global and climate change, when you look at things like um, you know uh, the issues of immigration around the world, especially in our famine or big challenges around the world. Um, you know, the attention on this major issue is in competition with a lot of other things, but it will take some time. But ultimately, of course, the more people that understand that they benefit not just from a health perspective, but also from a financial perspective, from a mindset perspective. The more people that understand that, and the more we have institutions working together to make that a good thing for everyone, obviously, the more demand there will be for services. So it's not happening fast enough, but there are a lot of people working on it every day.
I'm thinking all the time about the name fitness club. I do not like it anymore because I think it's focused the wrong target groups. Because people who like fitness clubs, they signed a membership, but people who don't like fitness clubs, they haven't signed a membership because they don't want to be a member of a fitness club. Maybe they want to be a member for live longer in a higher quality and make your own decisions till the last seconds count. Maybe I think it's a little bit the name is not so funky, but could be that a model, and to be serious for the future, to rename places like fitness and health clubs and shape it in a different way to. And we have 12% in Germany who's joining the gyms, so we haven't 88% joining gyms. That's a huge group, I think, target group.
Yeah. I agree. Well, you're seeing a lot of different business models call themselves different things, so I think that's already kind of underway, whether it's a pure digital solution or whether it's a brick and mortars experience or more medically integrated, solution, or what you see in Japan with what they do. A lot of that's cultural as well, because of the way certain cultures see exercise and strength training. And so, I think the models will continue to morph in different ways where it won't be called that in many cases, but in other cases it will. Some people like heavy metal music and other people's like reggae. So different flavors of experience. But overall, though, whatever you want to call it, the market for health and fitness is significant. It's one of the top 4 discretionary spends around the world. And it's broadening more and more to well-being, including, meditation, sleep, nutrition, and travel experiences and other experiences, including living embedded wellness in where you live and reside. So, yeah, the market's morphing, growing, and doing that under a lot of different labels.
Yeah, it's a holistic approach, which starts now, and the early adapters, they doing retreats and whatever. They do not do like holidays. They do not live just laying on the beach and joining a margarita. No, they don't do it. They're just optimizing their systems all the time. They go to a retreat to learn weightlifting. What kind of a retreat is that? But they're doing it. Yeah, and physical activity. And at the end, in the long term, physical activity means you had a life full of adventures. I think you created your own story because you decided to be like this and be like that, and just not laying back and sit down. Maybe this is a smart idea for the fitness, not laying back and wait till something happens.
Well, everybody needs to rest too, right? They need to recover. When every now and then it's good to lay back. But you look at brands like Equinox and what they've done, getting into hotels, getting into travel, getting into multi aspects of what you're describing. And the same with Rainier, with some of the brands that their group has done. The founder of McFit, they, for God's sakes, they acquired a baking company that makes high-end desserts. So, and I know they're looking at a multifaceted strategy around these kind of things. So I think really smart brands, are thinking that way, because I think that's going to mean a larger share of the wallet. So then you're not just selling a membership per month. You're increasingly selling lifestyle, experience, a holistic approach, which is, as you know, as a very accomplished professional, that's the ideal place you want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see what happens. And this now moves us to the last point. Thanks for 49 minutes right now. I just want to ask you some personal COVID situation questions. And for sure, you've managed the situation and you can handle COVID. But what was your first reaction when you noticed, okay, we will have a shutdown? What was the first thoughts in your mind?
Sure. So because I worked on a financial transaction in China in December and January, which we closed, I was pretty aware of it more than I think most people in the United States were. So when come February, early February, we figured that this was going to happen. So, we're very fortunate in that we live in a place outside of New Orleans, which was hit pretty bad, where we have a nice home with a big backyard with a swimming pool and a lot of roaming room. And then our adult children, my wife and I's adult kids, they, our adult children, they lived in the general area. So we contacted them, and they're all in their own businesses. So they relocated here, and we, in our business, while we did that, we have been managing our companies around the world via digital for many years, over a decade. So our team is very adept and used to conducting business using technology. So all of our accounting, customer support, interfaces like video conferencing, we've been doing that a very long time. So we were very, very lucky. We just followed the local ordinances. We didn't go anywhere. We had our groceries delivered, and we were very lucky. So my thought was really more of how we could prepare our people in our organization to be reassured that they were going to be okay, and our family, making sure they were okay, and then just dealing with it from there. And we're very lucky. We're very, very lucky.
Yeah, I follow you on social media, and I saw you playing volleyball in the pool, and you had one, I think maybe maximum 2 barbecues.
Yes.
And looks like a hard time for you. And
well, listen, we've given to the food banks here locally. We gave money to the food banks to help people less fortunate, and we've tried to help. I don't want to make people think we're too lifestyles of the rich and famous, but it's been good for us to be with our older kids, though, to spend time with them, and we get along very well. So just a lot of work, and then helping a lot of colleagues from around the world who contact us all the time, and just trying to be there for them in any way we can. So, but thanks for that question.
I think nobody won't get it wrong, because I had a few barbecues too, because I spent the time with my best friend. Yeah. So we were the family, the social contact and the social distance at the same time, but we had a few barbecues because we had the time to sit around, have a glass of wine, and enjoy the life and slow down a little bit, because that was very healthy for for my mind and for my body, because I do not have any pain in my body without the stress of traveling and doing sports at the same time. So the rehabilitation or reloading of the batteries, it's right now I'm full of energy, so I'm ready to go in the future.
That's all.
There were three answers. Three answers in one question. But thank you for this. What was the biggest change in your business because of the COVID thing? Was it doing more video sessions, or what was that? And what? Yeah.
So with several of our businesses, business really picked way up. Like, so Vertimax business has increased a lot. We were prepared for that. Montezumo that we invested in has done very, very well. Certain of our other technology-oriented investments have done very well. Our clubs in Bangkok, have been shut down. They're 2 under construction. So we're concerned about that. So we, tried to see if we could help Christian and Magnus in any way we could. And then really, obviously the webinar request, I've turned down a lot of them, but I try to do a few of them. And the other big thing is just communicating with a lot of people. I generally communicate with a lot of people, but really I reached out to a lot of people, just checking with them. Our whole team did that. How are you doing? Do you need anything? What do you think? So a lot of these kind of calls with friends like you, but more specific to their situations and reassuring them. A lot of our longtime friends, they're without jobs right now. They're not in a good place. So if we can do something to help them, we have done a lot of that kind of communication, just checking in, making sure they're okay. But other than that, and then not traveling so much, like you said.
Yeah. All the expositions or conventions around the globe are stopped. Yeah. So I was thinking about go to Ursa this year.
Yep.
No. Yeah, but we will see next year. I think we have to delete 2020 in this topics and fields and markets, and next year I think we will move on, because I really like to be part of the solution and not part of the problem.
Yes, that's a good way of thinking.
And that's one of the last questions for today, unfortunately. I know it's just nobody can say that, but how look like the change on this earth in 18 months? How does it look like? It's just
I think hopefully it's back to where it was before. I hope that's it, through God willing, a lot of cooperation. I know the German people are researching very heavily solutions, therapies, and vaccines. I know that's happening around the world. And I hope our scientists and experts and epidemiologists and experts in these areas are going to figure out solutions as fast as they can, so that everyone's going to be okay and we don't have to worry about it anymore. And I hope that happens sooner than later. But I would bet money that in 18 months, everything's going to be back to normal and will be more robust than ever.
Bryan, thank you. Right now, I have to say bye-bye. And it's a good tradition in this, very young podcast show, but the last words are always from the guest. So you have 25 seconds to think about, and then you have maybe, if you want, 2 minutes to talk to my audience and share your last thoughts. Whatever it is, it's on you. You can sing, you can dance, or you can give us a nice quote. I have to say thanks a lot, Bryan, again, for your time, for your support, and it's always a pleasure to see, to talk, to read. The articles follow. Please, Mr. Bryan or Rourke, because that's it's a blast for your mind. So bye. Please subscribe the channel if you really like the Tailormade, the fitness industry podcast from Hamburg, Germany. And the last words I hand over to Mr. Bryan Rourke. Thank you, Bryan. I'm out. Take care. Stay healthy with your families and your loved ones. These are your last words.
Namaste. Thank you, Mark. Always a pleasure. Thanks for the honor. And everybody, hey, stick in there. Don't try to be as positive as you can. Things are going to be better, and we will see each other, either at FIBO or at Ursa or one of the events coming up. And you can reach out to me at Bryan K. or any of the platforms. If I can be of any help, please don't be shy. And please feel free to listen to my podcast, the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast, if you can. And just, best wishes for everyone to stay healthy, to stay positive, and know that this will pass and we'll all be celebrating together again very soon.